My name is Michael Chave, and I'm an AEC technical specialist here at ATG USA. Just a couple of house cleaning rules. Let's make sure, or housekeeping rules. Let's make sure we don't unmute ourselves to ask questions. I will be checking periodically through the chat for questions. If you guys have been in one of my webinars before, I love hearing questions and asking me things that I didn't answer. I will follow up at the end with questions as well. And at that point, you're more than welcome to feel free and unmute yourself and ask me questions. Or if you don't want to talk, you can, of course, do it through the chat. But we're going to get started here. Today, we're going to be talking about model cleanup. In today's description, we're going to be learning on how to reduce file sizes for your coordination models and remove proprietary content from one interface. We're going to create lightweight models before linking them into your projects, and we're going to reduce time-consuming tasks of keeping your project organized and clean. The Project Cleaner is a free tool, and it will definitely be a game changer for your firm. We are going to go through a thorough introduction of the tool, and we are going to gather an idea of how it can work for you. Let's talk about what the tool is and all about it. Through the life cycle of a project, many of us have to go through a general cleanup process in Revit. There's a lot of time-consuming tasks, deleting views, cleaning up your working schedule, importing components, and the list can go on and on and on. And instead of doing these tasks manually or by hand, this tool offers a way to automate that process. When we are working inside of Revit, we should be taking steps to make sure our models are kept clean, right? But again, it's a time-consuming process, and not a lot of us have the time to actually go through and keep our models clean. This is true when we're sending out models as well. And when we are receiving out-of-house models, it is an important step, and a lot of us don't have the time to do it. And to take this manual time of going through, deleting views, deleting imports, the list goes on again. Our models start to become larger and start to have problems. And again, this tool is in the CTC BIM Manager Suite, and it is a free tool. You can download it today and get the full suite itself for a 14-day free trial. But the tool, Project Cleaner, is free, and you can have it. We're also going to start taking a look on basically learning objectives here. We're going to learn about how file sizes and what file sizes are. We're going to be talking about organizing, cleaning your project, reduce incoming and outgoing files, and change the speed and time we spend on repetitive tasks. We're also going to purge unused content elements that we're using in Revit that someone imported or maybe we imported and we're no longer need it, and we need to purge all of them out as well. But first, let's talk about Revit file sizes. So we're going to go through, and don't worry, we're going to get into a demo. This is just a quick little overview of how Revit file sizes are, or what storage sizes are. So let's talk about file size in terms of bytes. A byte is a unit of digital information that most commonly consists of 8 bits. Historically, a byte was a number of bits used to encode a single character of text in a computer. And for this reason, it is the smallest addressable unit of memory in many computer architectures. Now that we know what bytes of information are, let's kind of go over memory sizes, right? So we see these and we kind of can comprehend what these file sizes are when we're looking at them in Windows or File Explorer. And a kilobyte is 1024 bytes. Megabytes is 1024 kilobytes, and a gigabyte is 1024 megabytes. And then you have terabytes, which is 1024 gigabytes. And in relations to bits of code, this is the language our desktops use to communicate information. A computer works by importing information by typing on the keyboard, right? So you're typing in anything, or let's say inserting an element by clicking the mouse, right? So we're giving it some kind of information. So we're putting an input. And then your CPU or central processing unit will leverage your RAM for a set-by-set instruction on what to do. Once your CPU receives that instruction, it will then process the information and send it back to the RAM for output. All of this comes full circle when you're thinking about how much information needs to be pulled from one location, right? Your file size. Having a larger file size requires better hardware to process that information. So if we don't have the hardware currently to process that large file size, we're going to run into some troubles in Revit, right? The thing I like to call it the spinning wheel of death. A good place to start is looking at your template file. Keeping an eye on the file size throughout the life cycle of the project, creating a routine of cleaning the project out, which we're going to show you today on no longer being a painstaking moment where we're going through having to select views, delete them out. We can actually create a task or an actual load of what we're going to be doing on a continuous basis, so we don't have to go through and reselect all of these items again. If you see your file rapidly growing in size, you might want to leverage again Project Cleaner and do a lightweight cleanup of removing unnecessary views, view templates, filters, sheets, links, and imported images, and maybe even families. From here, we're going to go right into the demo. Again, I don't like death by PowerPoint, so we're going to go into a demo on how the Project Cleaner works. So for some of you might not have actually seen the CTC tools that we have here, but within here, you do have them laid out in a ribbon, CTC software. Within here, we do have a couple different suites, and today we're going to go primarily over the BIM Manager suite. Again, this tool is natively in your ribbon in Revit, so you do not have to leave the interface to use this tool. And as you can see, I drag this out of my actual ribbon and I place it right here. So let's say if you had a second screen and you wanted to dock it on your second screen rather than having it right here in the ribbon interface, you can do that as well. Within here, you do have suite settings, and this will allow you to change the settings of the full suite. Again, we're just talking about one item. So if you wanted to, you can go through here. If you're a BIM admin here and you have a bunch of these manager suite tools and you don't want everyone to have access to them, you can go through here and kind of filter out on a per desktop basis on what they want to have shown for that designer. I already have my tool saved. And then from here, we have lighter icon colors, right? So the lighter icon colors are free tools within the CTC tools. The darker ones are paid items. And the ones that are grayed out aren't able to be used because we're not in the actual interface that allows it to be used, such as the family processor. I actually have to have a family open to use the family processor. So these are how the CTC tools are laid out. Again, you can go and get a free 14-day trial, have full access to them. One question here, 1 second. My chat will pop up somewhere. And let's see. I use the tool so much that I have added it to the quick access bar. Cool. So yeah, this gentleman said, Jason said that he uses them so much, he added them to the quick access bar right up here rather than having them down below in their own ribbon, making them more accessible, right? So let me dock this back up here. Now we're going to talk about Project Cleaner. So let's go through what we used to do, right? The old or other workflow. Let me dock this over here so we have kind of a full access of our project browser, right? So maybe we're going through and deciding to finally decide to do a cleanup. Our file size is large and we want to do an actual cleanup of our project. We have to go through here and actually look and see what views we want to delete out, right? Maybe do a shift and select majority of the views here, and I want to delete these all out and delete them, right? That's kind of the older method, and we don't even know which ones are currently on sheets either, right? We also can go down here and we have schedules. The list goes on. We also have families that we want to have and maybe not want to have. And then we want to delete these items out. So right up here is the Project Cleaner. I select the tool. It's going to open up. And from this direct interface, I have a multitude of options. Right now, I'm going to show you one that kind of would just be an overview of deletion. But we're going to actually take it a step further because what I'm doing is just my first workflow. We'll do 2 different workflows today. One is for general project cleanup for your in-house. 2 would be for more coordination, either sending out or receiving. So first, we're going to go over kind of internal cleanup. And I want to know what is on sheets or is being used, right? Because what we want to make sure is that we're not deleting something that someone, maybe we're working in a project that has multiple users in it, or maybe I already know just myself that I want to delete certain views. But we want to make sure that we're deleting views that are not on sheets, right? That we're not going to be using at some point to be placing on sheets either. So there's either ones that are going to be on sheets or ones that may potentially contain content that we're going to be placing onto sheets. From this standpoint, I went and said on sheets or used so that I know at some point which ones were on sheets or not on sheets. So as you can see here, let me expand this out for you guys. I now have a tree, kind of shows me my views, right? And at this point down here, I can see what's not directly in a sheet or with or more independent views on that. So at that point, I can start fanning these out and see which ones are not on sheets. And maybe these views I no longer need to have. So I can go through here and select the items that I want to delete and remove them. I can also see which ones are not in a sheet as well. So I can go through here and see which items are not in a sheet and go through and kind of pick out which ones I want to have and kind of delete them as well. Let's talk about sections. How many of us go through and see 1 through 100 sections, right? I come from a structural design background, so I use a lot of sections to do my design. And I repetitively sometimes have 1 through 50, maybe 1 through 100 sections where I'm just continuously copying, pasting sections. And I need to go through and rapidly delete these sections. And maybe I do them on a per day basis where I'm creating new views every single day in terms of sections and elevations to actually create my design environment and make it a little bit easier. I can go through here and actually save the selection that I have of views that I want to delete and reload this selection later on because I know on a per project basis, I'm doing this repetitive task and I don't want to have to go through here and check these items all the time. You can of course go up here and load a selection and do that as well. You can also go through and see my schedules. You can also see the body count. So this allows you to kind of go more in depth on your schedules and see if there's actually data associated with those schedules. Is this schedule here for any reason? Can I just go in and delete those items as well? We can also go to view templates and delete out any templates that we have and we don't want to be used, right? So are there any even in use or are there ones that are unused as well? You can go through and do filters. You can go through and select parameter filters. You can go through sheets as well. What sheets do I have? Of course, we're not talking about views on sheets, but we're talking about sheets in general and an overview. We can go through and actually select our links that we want to have in here, as well as imports. Any imports that we've had and kind of allocated to our document or our design environment in Revit. Images. We can also go in here and see images. Are the images actually saved within Revit itself, or are they saved out and linked in, right? We don't want to have actual images in our design environment because it's creating a more load in our file. We want to actually save those images out, our renderings out, and then link them back in and have them hosted in our environment that way. We don't need to have them imported or brought in or saved through the actual file itself. That's creating a larger file size and sometimes creates performance issues, right? And these are things we can see right here and go through and just do a thorough model cleanup in the general process of right now, just in our environment here, right? So this is more in-house, what we would do in-house. The second workflow, and this is where I'm going to actually show you the dramatic change, right? We talked about file sizes in terms of kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, all of that. And we talked about how our computer transfers information and kind of uses it and leverages it in terms of the CPU, your RAM, all of that. Let's show you kind of what that process would be in terms of coordination, right? So I come from a structural background. If I were to go in and receive this architectural model and I wanted to clean it up, I don't need to see everything in here. So maybe I would do a type, right? Instead of actually doing what's placed on a sheet, I want to see all of my organization and I want to show all of my Revit and CAD links as well. I would go through here and I would go and select all of these 3D views. I don't need to see any of their 3D views in here and have them allocated for my coordination, right? I'm the structural designer. I do not want to have any of this architectural 3D views. I would delete all of these. I don't want any of their area plans, ceiling plans, drafting views. I don't need to see any of their drafting views. And of course, maybe I would save this file out as a coordination, right? I would have their standard file first off, right? In terms of me being able to print out sheets. But my second coordination model would be this more in-depth bare bone model. So I would go through here, and of course I need some floor plans, right? Because I need to have them in terms of my design environment and actually leveraging those. So maybe I'd go through here and select some of these items, go through and select these renderings. I don't need any of their renderings. Sections, I don't need any of their sections or any of their schedules, right? I don't need any of this view templates either. I don't need any of their filters, any of their sheets, any of their links. You can also go over here and select this checkbox that'll actually select all of those items if you want to just select all of them. And from this point, I know this is going to happen again. So I'm going to save the selection out. So now I can come back at any point when I receive a new updated coordination model and have these already deleted. So let's take this a step further. From in here, I'm going to actually go into one that I actually have for it, and we're going to go and do a coordination model cleanup for that one. So at this point, I'm going to kind of show you guys what happened here. So this architectural model that I received from the architect was 273,000 kilobytes, right? Which is 273 megabytes, give and take some change. I did a model cleanup on this, and I brought it down to 31 megabytes. I usually see around a 75% reduction in file size when I'm doing a deep clean, especially for a coordination model. That's huge. Imagine that drastic change in performance you're going to have in these file sizes and differences, right? Especially coming from more of an architectural side or any kind of coordination you're using currently. So we can go in here and actually do this. So great thing about this, I can go and open this up if I wanted to as well. I'm going to upgrade it to this model. Oh, I'm going backwards instead. Let me go in 19. Oops, I had it right there. Any questions so far? I like questions. All right, so let's go over here and open this up. So we can run through that process and kind of show you guys how that works and actually show you that reduction in file size, right? Instead of just kind of having it there at that point. I would detach it from Central, of course, because I don't need it. Detach and preserve work sets. I'm gonna open this guy up. Of course, this is a larger file size. And I don't care about any of the links right now. So I'm gonna go over to my BIM Manager suite. I'm gonna go to Project Cleaner. And from this point, right, so I'm gonna go through and do a deep clean on what I need. So I'm gonna select all of these. I'm gonna keep my floor plans. I'm gonna delete my schedules. I'm gonna delete my legends. I want my floor plans for coordination so I can actually have a starting basis on when I'm gonna start my design. I don't need any of their sheets. I don't need any of these links. I don't need any of these as well. And I'm gonna go through and actually hit remove. Yes, I wanna remove all these. Hit okay. So this is telling me right now that I have this view open. So in my drafting views, which is this exit view, I have open, so it won't delete it. Okay, no big deal. Now that I've deleted all of these, I'm also gonna run a purge. So right here from the interface, I don't have to leave the interface, I'm gonna do purge. I'm gonna purge around 1,138, I'm gonna hit okay. And now I purge. So I'm gonna do file save as. And detached, and we'll do webinar. So now I'm gonna go over here and see this, right? So now I have over here 32, so I went from 273 megabytes to 32 megabytes, right? I know it says kilobytes here, but I'm just doing the quick conversion. So you can see that drastic change, right, in terms of coordination. So that's huge. So again, we did two different ones. We did the workflow one where we're just gonna do a deep clean or a light clean in our actual model that we're gonna be using and relieve that mundane task of us spending time on having to do a general model cleanup. And then we went through and cleaned an actual coordination model up, right? So then we cleaned up a coordination model that we were receiving. And this also works in terms if we're going to be using this as well for proprietary content, right? We don't want to actually send out our drafting views that we took time to create all of the details, all of our standard notes, and we want to have those removed before we're sending them out for coordination as well. So internally, more as, again, from my gauging of structural design, I want to remove all of my drafting views that have all of my details associated to them. I want to remove all of my general notes. I want to remove all of my sheets. I'm going to send them PDFs of my sheets already. So I don't want them to have anything but my model, right? I want the architect to have my model that he's going to be inserting in for coordination, right? Maybe clash detection, or maybe the architect is using my model for section cuts and actually showing and referencing the structural design of the building itself. So again, that can also help for proprietary content. If I want to remove proprietary content out prior to sending it out, this would be good for you to send for coordination as well, right? You're giving the architect, you're giving the MEP design any kind of coordination you're using, you're giving them a lightweight model. They don't have to worry about going in and cleaning it up, and you'll probably get a ton of things back. Don't quote me on that, but you might. Any questions? All right. So that'll be completing of our webinar today. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer some questions. Again, that was over the Project Cleaner. That is a free tool. You can go today and get the full BIM Manager suite for 14 days free trial. If you haven't downloaded it yet, please go and download it. And again, Project Cleaner is free. So I'll stay on for a little bit longer and answer any questions you guys have. But this will be completing of our webinar. Oh, Richie had a question. Okay. Yeah, Richie, so you're saying a template, exactly. So when I go back over to here, let's see, can you create a template? So Richie, are you saying in terms of, I can unmute you too as well. Are you saying a template or something that you can, hey Richie, can you hear me? I unmuted you as well. No worries, I'll just talk you through it if you don't want to talk about it. So within here, right, so if I went through the Project Cleaner, and again, if I've done this selection here, I can go in and save it. So saving it here, the selection that I know is going to be continuously happening and saying maybe like arc coordination or something, you know, and from here, save it out. And then I can come back in here and just load the selection. It'll go through and reload the selection that you had previous for it. Any other questions? Sorry, I'm having some trouble with my Zoom controls because I'm working on one screen. So if you had questions, I apologize. Exit out of here, bring this down. Oh, no worries if your mic's not working. Hopefully I answered your question. I have another one. Carlos, I opened Project Cleaner and I only have 3 tabs at top, view, sheets, and links. On yours, I see more tabs. So depending on what you're having association for it, and that was Carlos, I believe. So if you're going in here and you're saying you have different tabs in terms of how these are laid out, right? It all depends on how your organization is going to be. Are you going to do it by type? Are you going to do it by discipline and type discipline, phase type on sheets? So again, in options, you have these options here to kind of lay out what you're going to be seeing and how you're going to be seeing it, right? Is it sheet organization? Are you going to see all? Are you going to see drawn by? Kind of how you're organizing it. And again, links. And let me bring this back down, and my chat's right here. All right. So you're not getting view template. You're not seeing this tab here, filters or sheets. Let's go back to the chat. So that might have been an install issue, Carlos. I can definitely, if you want to shoot me an email, and see if we can troubleshoot what kind of happened there. Let me put my email here for you guys as well. Shoot me an email and definitely help you out with that. And who else did we have? Let's see, Logan, where will this be located? So you'll get an email, Logan, later on that'll be sent out to you with a recording of this. Jason, they could be using an older version of the tool. So Jason might have a solution for you as well, Carlos. You could be using an older version of the tool. Maybe uninstall and reinstall it and see if it updates. Can you recover something you accidentally removed? Depending on how many items removed, and again, you might want to save an extra version of it. Again, BIM Manager Suite is a powerful tool. It's not meant for the day-to-day user. It's meant more for the BIM admin, BIM manager. You don't want to have somebody going in and deleting all of their views on accident. All right, no more questions. Thanks everybody for coming in. I'm gonna end the webinar now. Thanks for spending your time with me. And hopefully I'll see you guys on one of my other webinars at some point.